Yeah, I know. I'm late. The news broke last week. But before I made this video, I wanted to make sure I got all the information correct, all the information down before I got on screen and then started spewing out misinformation over and over again, thinking that I'm right. And of course, I didn't do the research at all. Not completely, but that's not the point. The point is, finally, Spider-Man joins the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have all been wanting this, waiting for this to happen for, well, since the cinematic universe began. So much speculation about whether or not Spider-Man would join the Marvel Cinematic Universe or not, how Marvel could put him in there, trying to maybe wrench him away from Sony Pictures, but so far that seemed to be non-existent. But now, finally, it's happening. Marvel and Sony reached an agreement, which is it's a very strange agreement. I think not a single dime was exchanged between the two companies to make this happen. What is going to happen is, for those of you who may not know, who didn't get all the full details of it, Spider-Man will appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, starting supposedly with Captain America: Civil War, which comes out next year, 2016. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but Spider-Man will appear in Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but he's gonna kind of be shared by Marvel and Sony Pictures. See, the deal is that Marvel Studios will make the films, but Sony Pictures will be the one to release them. So they have the distribution rights to it still, apparently, for some reason. I don't know how that works. Well, the deal they made, I guess. That's how it works. Now, while this is happening, they will make brand new standalone Spider-Man films, which means they'll reboot the entire Spider-Man film franchise for the second time. Not the third time, as people keep trying to lead you to believe. It's the second time that they're rebooting it. Which means that we're going to be going through all this stuff for the third time and for films, but that's beside the point. Spider-Man will appear in Marvel Cinematic Universe plus standalone films. Now, here's where the deal gets really weird. Whenever Spider-Man appears in a standalone film, again, done by Marvel, but released by Sony, when he appears in a standalone film, Sony Pictures keeps all that money for themselves. Any box office gross that those films make, domestically or internationally, whatever, all that money goes to Sony. But when Spider-Man appears in a crossover film, like say in Captain America: Civil War, if he does actually appear in that, we'll see. I think they start, or at least they started production on the film. At least I don't know the actual filming yet, but I don't know. Maybe they can shoehorn him in like a cameo somehow at some point. I don't know. We'll see. But if Spider-Man appears in a crossover film, well, technically it's not a crossover film, but you get what I'm saying. If he appears in anything other than a standalone Spider-Man film, that's Marvel's money. All that goes to them. So that's kind of the deal they're making right now. Spider-Man appears in anything that isn't a Spider-Man movie, all that money goes to Marvel. But when he does appear in a standalone Spider-Man film, like the new Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, 4, who knows, all that money goes to Sony. It's a very strange agreement they've made, but very obviously Sony Pictures are desperate because the reboot that they tried to do with the Amazing Spider-Man series didn't pan out. The Amazing Spider-Man 1 got mostly positive reviews from critics. Fans were a bit broken on it. They're a bit divided. Some fans welcomed the reboot, saying that it was actually a fresh take on Spider-Man. Others didn't like it. They prefer the Sam Raimi films better, and they prefer Tobey Maguire as the lead of Spider-Man and Peter Parker, and some like Andrew Garfield. It took me a while to come to this conclusion, but I think I finally have. At first, I still am against the Mark Webb films, the Amazing Spider-Man series. I still am against that technically, but it took me a while to kind of come to this conclusion. I think I will agree with some people who make this sentiment. I don't know if it's widespread, but from what I witnessed, it's a small group of people. When it comes to the actors in the lead roles for both film series, Tobey Maguire was a much better Peter Parker, but Andrew Garfield himself was a better Spider-Man. I think it comes down to Spider-Man's personality and his banter and his disposition in the films. When I watched those actually not even all three films. I watched the first Spider-Man film long before this announcement was made a few months ago, and then actually, as a matter of fact, it came on TV today. As a matter of fact, I watched a little bit of it today. Yeah, that kind of reinforced my opinion of it. Tobey Maguire was a perfect Peter Parker, like the perfect Peter Parker, outside of I guess the Spectacular Spider-Man TV show, which I wish is still on the air. But as Spider-Man, I think it's the way he delivered the dialogue for Spider-Man that just didn't work as well as say Andrew Garfield. The way he talks and acts as Spider-Man, I think is much better. It's closer to what you expect Peter to act in maybe the cartoons and the comics. He did a much better job being able to give off that not necessarily goofy, but more flippant personality that Spider-Man always has in the comics. And so I think that's probably one of the things I would give credit to the Amazing Spider-Man series. Also, I will give credit to I didn't like the suits, I guess. Well, I like the suit better than the Amazing Spider-Man 2. I thought that was much better. It was more cartoonish, I guess you could say, and closer to what you see in the comics. That's another thing they got right. The suit in the Raimi films, very obviously Tobey Maguire had to bulk up for the film roles because Spider-Man's supposed to be super powerful, but super strong. So he had to kind of reflect that he had to kind of be that way, especially when he's messing with the props and everything on set. So Spider-Man turned out to be, especially if you ever look at Tobey Maguire like standing still in the Spider-Man suit, you kind of see the muscle mass, which not a bad thing. But as Spider-Man, Peter's always been. He's never been bulky, he has muscle. He has that muscle in the comics, but he doesn't have the actual muscle mass. I think he's not comparable to say Power Man, Luke Cage. He doesn't have that kind of physique. He's still while the muscle is there, he's still a little slender. And I don't know what they did on set, how they produced the Amazing Spider-Man series, but I guess for somehow. Andrew Garfield was able to pull it off, looking like a relatively fit Peter Parker and Spider-Man, because with the suit being skin tight and grasping on something like that. But again, that's probably one of the only things I would give credit to the Amazing Spider-Man series is that Andrew Garfield played a perfect Spider-Man, but a very subpar Peter Parker, I think, especially in the first film, where he came off as just this hipster wannabe. And I do mean wannabe. He came off kind of hipstery to me. Which, I don't know, controversial to say this, I don't exactly dislike hipsters. But it's the way that Peter Parker came off like one. Like they were trying way too hard to make him seem a lot cooler than Peter Parker is supposed to be. He's Peter Parker is supposed to be a kind of introverted, not class act, but, much more introverted anyway. But when you have Andrew Garfield, it's not even Andrew Garfield's fault either. It's the way the script was written, the way the characters were written to make Peter Parker stand out a little more. And then when he got his power, he started showing off, like when he dunked that basketball. But that entire film just ruins Peter Parker. Just thinking back on it, that entire film ruined Peter Parker. That was terrible. When he was messing with Flash with the basketball, and then he made that slam dunk, it just broke the backboard. That was terrible. That was just terrible. I hated the skateboard too when you had that. I didn't like that either. It's just trying to make him out to be a lot cooler than he's supposed to be. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, the point is they're rebooting the Spider-Man. They're rebooting the Spider-Man film series again. And with Marvel's involvement, hopefully this can turn out to be a lot better than what the Amazing Spider-Man turned out to be. Don't know what they're going to call it. I don't know. Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Spectacular Spider-Man, I guess. Or they could just go calling it Spider-Man again, which is probably what they're going to do. That's probably what they're going to do. Just Spider-Man and then maybe a sequel. Well, they call the sequel to Captain America, the Winter Soldier. The third one's gonna be Captain America: Civil War. Then for Thor: The Dark World, Thor: Ragnarok. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, for the Iron Man movies, they just did Iron Man 1, 2, and 3. But I think probably for the new reboot, the project's gonna keep it just a simple title: Spider Man, and once again try to reintroduce him to audiences. Even though I think the majority of people, casual fans, at least know his deal. Legend his uncle is killed, and that inspires Peter Parker to become a superhero. That's really oversimplifying it, but that's the gist of the story. He gets bitten by a spider that gives him powers. Uncle Ben dies, and I want to say heroism. I think in the comics, he tried to stop the burglar trying to kill him. Not trying to kill him, trying to rob him rather. Anyway, it's just Uncle Ben's influence that inspires Peter Parker to become a superhero. That's the gist of his story. Again, it's really oversimplified, but that's the basics of it. So, I agree with some people that reading about it online. Some people commented. I agree. I think like how they did for the Incredible Hulk, how in the opening credits, you just glossed through Peter's his story, like in the opening credits. Spider bites, Uncle Ben's killed, decides to become a superhero, and then you go from there. Initially, well, actually, even now, rather, and again, a lot of other people agree with this. I I would hope that Marvel Studios would rather just cut to Spider-Man in the middle of his career. Already Spider-Man for a while. Maybe he's already fought some of the supervillains. You reference them here and there. He's already fought Green Goblin or Hobgoblin or Rhino or Scorpion or something. Just reference that. You don't have to go into detail. Just make an offhanded reference to it, or maybe seen in the newspaper, the Daily Bugle, like Spider-Man beats Scorpion in bank robbery or something like that. And then you keep going. Everyone basically knows who Spider-Man is and what his story is. But unfortunately, Marvel Studios is going to reboot it completely, starting from the very beginning. Spider-Man's going to be back in high school. And I think this time around, rather than like with the first two film franchises, where Spider-Man started in high school and then went to college and everything after high school and into the paper. I think they're gonna keep him in high school for the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what it seems to me. They're looking for people much younger than Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield to play the new Peter Parker. I guess someone, I don't know, around my age, or someone in their early 20s. Maybe if they really want to go for it, it depends. You probably could find a talented actor, maybe under 20. It depends who they go for, obviously. But they want someone much younger in like their very early 20s to do this, at least. There are some front runners for the part. I wouldn't say no to Donald Glover. I don't know if you guys heard that story. It's long story. I'll oversimplify it. There was a joke thing around Twitter about Donald Glover, a comedian and actor from Community, to become Spider-Man in the films. I think this is when the main Spider-Man was about to start. It was kind of a joke going around. Donald Glover for Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and it started off small for a while, then it kind of got a little bigger. It didn't take over the internet or anything, but like it got some attention, and apparently some people are still holding on to that. And Donald Glover himself, I don't know. I mean, like he doesn't expect it to happen, but if it did happen, he'd have to jump on it because he's a big Spider-Man fan himself. I don't know about Peter Parker, but maybe if they ever introduce Miles Morales into it, the Ultimate Spider-Man from the Ultimate Marvel universe. They could do that. I don't know. Unless maybe they want to do Miles Morales as the new Spider-Man, but it'll probably be Peter. It has to be Peter Parker. It kind of has to be. I mean, when you think about, for those of you who do know, you think about what happened when Ben Reilly took over as Spider-Man for a little while, or when Miles Morales took over as Spider-Man in the Ultimate Spider-Man universe. There was a big fallout amongst fans. They wanted Peter Parker back, and it's not necessarily a race thing. It's more so that this guy, whoever he is not Peter Parker, and that's the same exact problem people had with Ben Reilly when he took over as Spider-Man when Peter went missing for a while and he was out of commission. I don't know. I wouldn't say no to Miles Morales, but I like Peter Parker a lot more. I don't know. That's all I have to say about that. Uh, I know the video was this video. It's a week late. I know. Just listen to what I have to say. I'll keep on top of it, and hopefully I can comment more on it later, and maybe the rest of the films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We'll see how this goes. And with Spider-Man's inclusion, that means Black Panther. I think Captain Marvel's movies have been pushed back too to compensate for the new Spider-Man movie, which comes out in 2017, as a matter of fact. So a mere 2 years and change until we get the brand new Spider-Man film, which, like I said before, is probably most likely just be called Spider-Man. But whatever, that's beside the point. We'll see how things turn out with Captain America: Civil War, because Spider-Man will appear in another Marvel movie before his own film. That's been established. That's gonna happen, just as a cameo to integrate him into it. Which apparently it will be Civil War. They're gonna do it. I don't know. We'll see. Side note: Hugh Jackman had noted that he wants to integrate Wolverine into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not a big Wolverine fan anymore, but I don't know. I wouldn't say no to it. I'd like to see that happen. I don't know how they could do it with. No, they can do it. I was just thinking. I mean, everyone else has these weird abilities and weapons that they could use, and how can Wolverine stand up to that? You know, Captain America throws his shield. Iron Man can fly. Thor can fly. We can need to see how Spider-Man can integrate himself into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But then when you consider that in X-Men Origins Wolverine, spoiler alert here, I guess, when Wolverine was caught in an explosion and then jumped and then landed inside of a helicopter and made a crash, that's a terrible movie. I'll talk more about the X-Men films later. We can say that Black Panther is going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know, what I just said was stupid. They can do it. Wolverine could be in it. I wouldn't say no to him being in it. I kind of want him to be in it, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm just kind of waiting to see how the Doctor Strange movie turns out. So, I don't know. I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see what happens. See ya.